Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's time to take a look at Civilization 6. Ed here is going to walk us through a demo of the game. Ed, thanks for coming by the show. We're going to jump right into the footage that we have here, but why don't you start off by telling us some of the major new features that are coming to Civ 6?
Okay, well, first of all, the really amazing thing is this is a series that's now been around for 25 years.
Quarter of a century old.
Yeah, so it's the grandfather of all the strategy games at this point. But we've got a lot of really cool features that first time in the series with Civilization 6. The video was going to kind of first give us a retrospective on what Civ has looked like in some of the previous titles, both screens from Civ 1, Civ 2, some ideas of what some of the leaders and the tech tree looked like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're going to dive right in and get some actual footage of what Civ 6 looks like so everyone can get a sense of the new features. So the really big new feature is that we are taking the cities that used to be just like single points on the map where everything was done and it sort of all got buried into that city, and we're spreading those out across the map. Okay. So now your city sprawls, and it has not just that one tile where things are happening, but it has all the tiles around it. Up to 30 tiles can be filled with stuff that are like reflective of like the wonders that you built in the city and some of the specializations that you're doing, like make it into a science city or an industrial city, whatever. So here we are. We're on the brand new Civ 6 engine, got a new graphics engine. The gameplay engine's entirely new as well. And we're just starting out a game. We're playing as China. And they're just going to show you some of the simplest changes is that the worker unit that was always used to build improvements, and it took like 5 turns, 6 turns to build something. We've streamlined that, and that happens instantaneously now. He's got a number of charges. He uses those charges up. And when they's expended, you're going to go ahead and create a new builder to do the next bit of work. So we're seeing a little bit of that right now. The other cool thing that we have going on, the other big new feature, this Eureka system, that's a way that we've changed the tech tree. The tech tree's always been the backbone of a Civilization game. That's how you progress through the game. And with the tech tree in the past, it was always like, I'm going to pick something to research on, then I just have to wait. I just sit around. It's very passive. It's not very exciting. And we've made it much more something that you have to engage with, you want to get involved with. The more you do things with your units and your cities out in the world, you can like actively unlock a whole bunch of boosts that push you through the tech tree in a certain part of the game. So that's sort of what that Eureka moment's all about. This is a great look at the art style. You can see that the area of the map that you are currently have visibility on is brightly lit, and you can see the art style we have there. But as soon as you get into the fog of war, we have this sort of pencil line drawing stencil look to everything. So the whole game is sort of built around the Age of Exploration theme, and we reflect that with the map. We actually, when you first start playing the game, the map actually looks like just a sheet of parchment, and it's got things like sea monsters and stuff on the edges because that's like the unknown. You haven't explored that yet, and so we kind of keep playing up that theme.
It's a cool idea to treat Fog of War that way, rather than it just being like a black void space, right?
It's got a lot of character. I'm a huge Tolkien geek. And so I look at the Fog of War and I'm like, wow, that's just, I see the Misty Mountains there, and that just turns me on.
Can you speak to the new art style? Like what sort of the idea behind that was?
Yeah, the art style has been stylized. We've been trying to make things as clear as possible. And the main reason for that is we unstack the cities, and now there's like twice as many possible items that can be on a tile outside a city. Before it was things like farms and mines and quarries, and we had maybe 8 to 10 of those different types of improvements that could be outside a city. But now we have 12 different districts. You can see we haven't quite gotten to it. Well, actually, no. Here's the first district that is placed in this game. It's the Holy Site District. And so now you've got so many possibilities for what could be outside the city that there's a lot of visual recognition that you have to go through. And so we had to use color more. We had to be very clear about what level of upgrades are in a particular tile. And so I threw all that at the art team. I'm like, this is going to be the gameplay here. And it's a lot different from a previous Civ game. And I need an art style that's going to support that. And they're like, well, we want to make it amazing and beautiful and have like a signature look to it. But we got to support the gameplay. So they drew back on sort of The Civ 5 was sort of beautiful and a realistic, a little grittier, a little dirtier kind of look to things, and the color palettes were more of a brown and more of a realistic looking things, and we had to kind of go in a different direction this time to support the gameplay.
Well, it still has a lot of really nice detail, like just the little birds.
Oh, it's got
around,
more
like
detail than Civ 5 does. We can zoom in tighter. When you build a wonder, we showed the pyramids building earlier, and we're going to get to the Great Library here in a minute. The amazing thing is there are animations of the entire progression of building that wonder, and those are all rendered close in. We bring the camera in almost like a horizon shot, and you have your city that you actually, where that wonder is being placed in the 3D world. That's where that scene is rendered, so it's all in engine.
I see. So how's our civilization doing here?
Okay, well, we've got 2 cities. We have some barbarians harassing us. We built an encampment district so we could train up some troops, and we're going to take these barbarians out now. We can see a little bit of what combat looks like. We've got our knights and our pikemen on either side of the river here, and the barbarians aren't going to last for very long. We have actually made the barbarians a lot tougher in this game. They have these scouts that they send, and they try to find your cities, and as soon as those scouts have found your city, you know you're in trouble in a Civ 6 game, because that means that if you just don't deal with that scout and you just let him wander home, he's going to report back to his buddies, and they're going to start to mount raids on you on a regular basis. So Civ 5, they're much more haphazard. They're just sort of like this weird speed bump that would be floating back and forth across the map. And this time the barbarians have some more intelligence to them, and they're a little tougher. So now we're probably Middle Ages. We're about to meet our next new Civ. So Teddy Roosevelt is the leader of the Americans. We've announced 4 of our Civs that are in the game. We'll see 2 of them in the game.
What are those 4 so far?
It's America, Egypt, China, and Japan.
Okay.
So we'll see the Egyptian leader in a second as well. So the way that the leaders work in this game is we have not necessarily chosen like the guy who's the most renowned in history for each empire. So the Washington or Lincolns have like the strongest reputation for an American Civ, but we went for the guys who are like the biggest personalities.
Okay.
And so Teddy Roosevelt, just the stories that come with him they're all over the place. He's the Rough Rider who went out west and founded a bunch of national parks, and he would go track down buffalo and the Great Plains and all this kind of amazing stuff. And so he's just like a fun person. And the reason we did that is we have a whole new way that the different leaders will play against you as AI opponents. They are all set up so they each have a historical agenda that's based on what they did in real life during their reign over their empire. So Teddy, the example on that is he has this sort of extension of the Monroe Doctrine was what he called the big stick policy, which means he's always going to have a really strong military.
Okay.
And he may not use it, but he's going to have that around, and if you start messing with him, he's going to wave that big stick in your face.
Well, that's the whole point, right? You want to have it, but you don't want to use it.
Right. And so here's the Great Library being built. One of the new things about the art style is we have a time-of-day system. So you were about to see this city here go through the progression from day into night. All the buildings light up. We've got illumination. That's the first time we've ever had that in a Civ game. Nice. So players have options. Obviously, it's a little tougher to play the game in a nighttime setting. It's a little harder to read the terrain and stuff like that. But what we have is an option so you can turn that on just to look at your cities temporarily. You can have it cycle through it slowly so there's no jarring transitions. In the video here, we're showing pretty striking quick transitions just because we want to give the illusion of you're going all the way through a game in 8 minutes here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like the big fish that are swimming in the ocean. I don't know if they're sharks or dolphins or whatever. They're circling the boats over there.
Yeah. We really have there are whales. There's fish. There's several different resources out in the ocean. Okay, now we're going to see a little bit of combat. Here we're about to meet the Egyptian leader. And it's Cleopatra back again. Okay. She wasn't in Civ 5, but she's been in several other versions of Civilization before. And her army's coming after our city. And the key thing is now that we've unstacked the city and you have all this stuff outside of it, when an invasion force comes, in the previous games you just had to worry about defending your city. They could maybe do a little bit of damage to you, pillaging your farms and stuff like that, but it wasn't a big concern. You could kind of hunker down inside your city and hold them off. Now, if you hunker down inside the city, you're losing your science district, your religious district. All these things are getting ripped up by the invader. So it's tougher to figure out how you're going to defend your homeland.
Yeah.
It also is cool when you're going to invade an enemy city. Is you can look over his empire. You can say, okay, he's got 3 or 4 cities on my border. Which one do I go after first? I can try to decide. Aha, there's his industrial base.
Yeah.
So take that city down first. That's really going to help me win the war over this guy.
Well, it looks like our army's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, they kind of set it up.
Yeah,
you know, we're not going to lose,
in
the demo video.
Yeah, that's true.
But we're getting to some of the cooler, more modern units now. We've got some tanks that are rolling over the Egyptian forces. We've got artillery and so forth.
Are you finding that games last about as long as they
yeah,
would
no, there is as much depth here as to find. We've streamlined some things. So like the builder I was talking about before, that's quicker and easier to resolve, but that's because we've added a whole nother layer of other types of decisions. Like having to plan out exactly what's going where around your city, that takes a little bit of time to think it through. And so we didn't want you to have to also micromanage these worker units, and it was tough, you know, when you're trying to plan out your city, you want to like say, this is going to be a farm, this is going to be an industrial area, and you want that to happen right away.
Yeah.
The way the workers worked before, they took some time to do it, and you like lost track of your train of thought.
I see.
And so we sort of set it up so you can plan out your city as effectively as possible now.
Is it true that you've tried to de-emphasize some of the automation from the past?
Yeah, that's sort of a, you know, kind of a basic tenet of game design that I sort of believe. I feel like too much automation is like telling the player that, hey, this isn't fun, so we're going to do it for you.
So why is it
you
even
know,
in there?
so why is it even in the game?
I see.
So the builders are entirely not automated. You can't automate them at all. But you don't need to because they're just like a charge. You just take them there, boom, they're done. So they're so quick to use that, and the cities are, it's so important how to plan it out properly that you don't want it automated anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, we showed that we built a spaceport. We basically got to the end of the game. We're launching our rocket, off it goes. And that's sort of kind of, you know, one of the ways you win Civ games. Civ games always have multiple victory paths, and science is still one of them, but we've got...
If you can achieve liftoff,
yes,
then
that will get you through.
It's doing pretty well.
Yep.
Ed, thank you so much for coming by the show. Civilization 6 is coming out when?
October 21st.
On PC.
On PC, October 21st, 2016.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming by.
Okay.
Stay tuned. More games to show you from day 2 of the E3 show floor being open here at IGN.